Okay, it's up to you.
Whoop, 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 whoop. It's another Thursday. It's another Thursday, and it's podcast.
Hey, where were you last week? I was here and you weren't here.
I was sponsoring at Suzanne Evans' event. I was a sponsor at her event. Ooh, baby, was that packed full of stuff. It was long 3 days for my brain.
I went to well, not during, it would have been right after this show, our normal show, but I went to Tony Caruso's first luncheon here.
Oh yeah, I heard it went very well.
Yeah, it did. So
yay, Tony.
Yeah. So, and actually, Gwen and I are having dinner with Tony and Keith tonight. So
how nice. I wish I could, but I'm a little ways
away.
Sorry,
I only made reservations for 4 of us. Sorry, you're too late.
What can I say?
we're taking Tony and Keith to a place we go to all the time. So
fun. Very fun.
They happen to be, or Tony happens to be, I think she brought Keith down with her. She happens to be having an event down here. So basically she's just gonna hang around for an extra like half hour or hour or so, and then go to dinner with us.
Very cool. Yeah. I like it. I like.
I know, I do too. It's like I don't get the because you'd think Tony and Keith moving here, all right, Craig and Natasha moving here, we'd have lunch with them more often. We don't, our dinner, because we just like all of us are busy people and just trying to fit it in schedule. However, with Tony taking over this chapter that Tony took over is really centered in the area I live, not where she lives. So
that's even better.
She's going to be coming down here doing a lot more because it's a little bit of a trip to come down here for her, I think.
Yeah, so, she's a little ways away from everything, but have you been to her house?
I've not been up to her. We haven't been to their house yet. All right. And
nice. Very nice.
We were invited to come up to a party or something they had, but we were scheduled to go out of town. It's just like Craig and Natasha are doing they're doing like their 4th of July party this year. Well, we had already scheduled a vacation to be out of town. Right? I'm like,
oh, bummer.
And I hate that because I don't like, you know what I mean? It's like for so many years I was friends with Tony and Keith. There's so many years I'm friends with Tony, or Craig and Natasha, and they didn't live here. Now they're here, and like a lot of stuff they plan and do, like we still move on with our life. You know, I mean, we didn't change our life because they moved here.
Yeah, now they're here. It's like, come on, dude, we're here. It's like, yeah, but
every now and then, Craig and I have done this. Tony and I haven't, but every now and then, Craig and I have done the hey, let's go get lunch. All right, and we did it Craig and I did it one time with Glenn Marshall. We just disappeared like 1 in the afternoon and went and had lunch and a drink, right? And like, that's cool to have now. Whereas like I'm talking to some of my clients yesterday in my mastermind who live in California and have been in Craig's mastermind for years. They're like, well, we missed that, being able to go meet Craig. And I'm like, I know. I paid Craig lots more money than you did, and I never got that because I lived here.
Yeah. I get a little bit of FOMO.
but like I see a lot of people though are a lot of people like who are in California. Like I think Craig's doing an event in
October. I think
it's October. He's doing one in Los Angeles, and I'm like, at this point in time, I'm not going. As of right now, I'm not going. That may change, all right, as September creeps in here to decide. But as of right now, I'm like, I don't have to. I don't have to fly out anymore. I'm not going to. Now,
well, I know next year, if he does anything next year, we'll be in the house by then. We'll be settled, and then we'll know, and then it'll be much easier to do. But right now, with at this point, we're expected to possibly move in August, and I just have I'm not even going to eWomen conference because I just have this feeling that's when we're going to be moving into our house. And plus, we're going to 2 weddings right before that, and not coming home until like Tuesday, and the event starts at Wednesday. It's just, and we're flying to we're flying to California, doing a wedding, then we're flying to Illinois to do my son's wedding, and then we're flying home.
Yeah.
So it's just too much. And my husband's like, I know you love this, but it's just, and I'm like, I get it.
So before everybody thinks that I'm isolating Craig, I also said no to the end of June, a seminar in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Torture.
Okay, I've never been to Hawaii. All right, it is the one state in the United States that I've not been to.
Yeah,
right?
we haven't booked food either.
And like I've driven in all of the lower 48, but the ones outside, like I've visited Alaska once, but I've never visited Hawaii. And people are like, the flight to Alaska, I remember when I went, I couldn't stand it. It bugged the shit out of me flying that far. All right.
Yeah, it's a long way.
But the flight to Hawaii is a long, like I'm looking up everything. Like I could afford to do it, but I'm like, I don't want to sit in a plane that long, especially now. All right. I'm going to have to do quite a lot more 4-hour flights before I get in a plane to fly that long to go to Hawaii.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And speaking of a lot, we have a lot to go over today.
Yeah, we do. What's up with that?
So I have a great topic that I'm sure is on everybody's lips today, is that Elon Musk takeover of Twitter. I mean, I know it's not a done deal, but it looks like it's pretty done for the most part. But I know it has to go through its channels and that type of thing. But I think he bought it for what, $44 billion?
$44 billion. And let me ask you this: have you ever bought or acquired a company?
No, I can't say that I have.
I have. I've bought and sold companies. So never bought one on a scale the size companies that Elon Musk buys, but
yeah,
just because the sale's been approved doesn't mean this is a done deal yet.
No, and then there's also the SEC that he has to go through, yes, and the whole, all that stuff. But I think the interesting part about this is I personally believe that he's probably going to take Twitter back to being private.
He is, yeah, public. He's taking the company private.
Which I think we've had this discussion a little bit. I personally think putting a company as private is better, especially if you want more control over that company, as opposed to making it public. Because when you make it public, now you have to have a board, you have shareholders you have to abide by and make happy. And sometimes there's a mix in regards to what you think should happen and what they think should happen. I mean, that's what happened with Steve Jobs. He got kicked out of his own company, for Christ's sakes, that he built and so forth. He ended up coming back.
Well, yeah, of course. And when he came back, the company, like, how far did the company go? Like, come on, like.
But its board members just said, "This ain't working, bud. You're out of here." So
and then they learned that wasn't really the factor, because eventually he had to come back to revive the company.
But here's the thing, though. When it comes to social media, and this is the biggest thing that we've been discussing, is if people are getting a lot of their information on social media, which a lot of people do and shouldn't be, but a lot of people do. They go on there to get information on the government, crime, life, all kinds of stuff, and they take it to heart a lot of times, which, as we know, you have to take like a grain of salt, because you have to do your due diligence and find out if it's true or not, which we found out a couple shows ago. I took to heart and then found out I was wrong. So it's kind of it's that fine line of social media that, okay, and I know he's talking about freedom of speech and so on and so forth. And that's a whole other entity when it comes to social media, because as we talked about, the cancellation culture, they think what they're saying is true. And then the other people that are being canceled out think they know what's so. And I know that Musk is more about free speech and that type of thing. So is it possible that when he starts to bring this on and we start to see how he's running the company and managing it, I don't know, maybe he might do something that's revolutionary, because he has with a lot of his companies, that all the other social media companies might say, you know what, that's a good idea. We can do that too. We can do that too. But I mean, freedom of speech, what do you consider as freedom of speech? Anything you want to say? Or
when it comes to freedom of speech, the one statement that he made, all right, and I should have pulled the tweet up in a picture to show, because I looked at the tweet and I thought it was interesting. And he said, freedom of speech is, I hope my worst or my best, what did he say? My best opponents to this, my best, the people who oppose me the most, I want them to stay on there, because I want their opinions to be heard. That's freedom of speech, man. When you can actually say, you know what, Katrina, you disagree with me, but you have the right to disagree with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we lost the free speech And I think we have people on sides taking, oh, great, we get a voice now, not realizing that what that voice means.
Yeah.
I remember, in 2017, when we went from really the strongest political thing that we had in social media was the Obama years. That was the strongest growth of social media. And then having to switch from a Democratic-led world to a Republican world, and now social media is out there, was where it looked dirty. And I actually had a friend who, this man spoke at my events, friend, hang out with him at coffee, friends, loaned him my car, friend, right? Made this very hateful comment on social media towards Barack Obama. And I'm not a big fan of Barack Obama's, but I refuse to let that, because some of the people, just because we think freedom of speech, while it's the left who's got it or the right who's got it,
yeah,
it's hate speech goes both ways. All right. And freedom of speech goes both ways.
Both ways.
All right. But we're saying a lot like this might come up with, no, we're going to bring hate speech back. And everybody's worried that we're going to have the mean tweet orange guy back on there. Can I tell you this? I don't care if he's back on or not. Really. It's freedom of speech. You can't kick someone off because you don't like their opinion, is what the point of this is. Just because I disagree with you, Katrina, doesn't mean I kick you off the platform.
No, and I agree with that, but I think to a certain degree too, depending what stature you have in society, whether that be you're the ex-president or the president, mm-hmm. or your ex-government, or you have a certain, I think you're looked upon as a certain entity that people look to for advice and for information. And then that way, sorry about that. And then that way, I think you have to abide to different rules, because people are looking at you in a different way. Bye, dear. Sorry.
Well, yes, I agree with you, but do you remember, all right, so like right now the NBA playoffs and the hockey playoffs are going on. Do you remember the day when the NBA players, when they were seen in public, when they came out for their news conference, they had to have their suits and ties on? Do you remember those days?
They had to be presentable.
They had to be presentable. Do you remember the days when they were out in public? All right. They had to be presentable. Yeah. All right. If you did something that was mean or rotten or out there, all right, when you did that, in public back then, you were then suspended from a couple games. Yeah. I remember, what's his name was the Cowboys coach, the longtime Cowboys coach, that basically he had disciplinary personal things in your life that if you didn't do, you weren't playing that Sunday.
Yeah. There were certain standards that were put in place that I think we've gotten away from. Yeah. And I think personally, I think we need to go back to those. I mean, even look at the music groups and the bebops and so forth. When they did an interview, they were completely polished. They knew what to say. They knew how to say it. They went through, I guess you could say, etiquette school and so on and so forth, what to say, what not to say. And some people may say, well, that's not freedom of speech. It is to a certain degree, but there's a point that I think when you're in that type of position, you're looked at differently by people. They look at you, they emulate you, they listen to what you're saying, and as we've seen in the past, they'll say, "Oh, so and so said I should go do this, so I'm going to go do it." Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's what I think is the hardest part about social media, is that people are not deciphering what is reasonable and what's not reasonable. And they just look at it as, well, so-and-so said it, so it must be good. I'm just going to go do it, instead of thinking it through. Or there's enough people on the feed that says, let's do it. That mob mentality. Let's do it. And then they all do. So it's that, and I'm sure Musk is going to take it and run with it and possibly do some really great things with Twitter, because right now Twitter's not doing very well anyway.
No, it's not. No.
It used to be really, really well received, and it used to be doing really well. And now it's one of the lowest on the totem poles when it comes to social media. In fact, when people say, do you use Twitter? They say, no. What can you say with 140 characters or even 340 characters that they upped it to?
Yeah.
What can you say? I can't say that much, so I just don't go there.
Well, now, I mean, what 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were able to finally get through. We broadcast on my Twitter channel. Where this show right today is being broadcast on our Twitter channel. Finally,
Yay.
all right.
Yay.
But for the longest time, the easy setups for our broadcast tool that we use is StreamYard, is Facebook and YouTube. Right, those are our two easiest. There are other ones out there, but they're just not as easy to get the connections to make work.
Yeah.
That's why we don't use them. But Twitter was one, and Twitter used to have Periscope.
Yeah, and now they do.
They were the company that built Periscope, and that was a unique thing with them. And Periscope was like the first mainstream broadcasting tool, I think. There was other broadcasting tools, but they were the first mainstream. Anyway, the concepts that we're talking about here, and you talked about the idea of like standards, but those interviews that we used to watch that had, where they had standards were not really true interviews. These people were then brought in and they were said, this is the questions you're going to be asked, and these are the answers you're going to give.
Yep.
There was no real to it. That's the flip side to our media today is we have now tried to, the regular media is trying to act out real. So in other words, they're trying to present scenarios. And how many times have you seen it where like the weatherman's doing the broadcast and he's like trying to, they've got a fan blowing his umbrella and the guy's walking by behind them.
Yeah.
Like no problem. Or he's like, oh my gosh, it's flooding out here. And look how deep the water is. And there's a guy walking on water behind them because the water is this deep.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's like that. Yeah. So you're seeing, you're not
seeing truth. You're seeing made up truth. And I think that's where we get into freedom of speech. Yes, I hate Orange Man, and that's the way I'm going to refer to him so people don't get upset with him. But yes, I don't like what Orange Man and how he approached things. But that was a point of reality to where people can go, you know what? I can share my voice.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have any self-control when I share my voice, but I can share my voice.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that's all part of what we were talking about, though, too. I mean, there's a point of freedom of speech, and there's also that point of cancellation culture where they're trying to cancel you out because you said something, where they're trying to ruin your business or you as an individual because you said something they didn't agree with. That's not freedom of speech.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, and like we talked about, we can agree to disagree. That's part of freedom of speech. You can still listen to somebody's point of view, whether you agree with it or not. It's still in a point of view, and it's that person's point of view. Doesn't mean it's the right point. Doesn't mean it's, it's how they see things as opposed to how someone else sees things. And we're all individuals. So if we try and say, well, we all have to think alike, why?
Well, can we go back to one of the earliest, biggest cases in our generation of freedom of speech? Do you remember the People versus Larry Flint?
Oh, yeah.
That was huge for personal, freedom of speech. All right. And I don't know if you know this, but like that case was developed around an incident that happened between Jerry Falwell and Larry Flint. Mm-hmm. That was where that whole thing was based around. Do you know that those two people were friends till their death? Even though they were on different sides, and they both agreed after the case, yes, I disagree with you, but I have no right to silence you. And both of them totally opposed to the other's point of view. Totally agreed with the fact after that case went through the Supreme Court saying, I disagree with you, but I have no right to silence you.
No.
That is what we're missing in America today.
That's what the cancellation culture is trying to do.
It's trying to do. And they're
trying to say my opinion matters, but your opinion doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not freedom of speech.
No. And they haven't learned to become friends through that whole idea.
Yeah. I totally agree. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
So,
And I think this takeover with Twitter and Musk is going to be it. I think it's going to be an eye opener because I think he's going to take this company and I mean, they call him, what was it? The golden child, where everything he touches turns to gold pretty much. And it was interesting. I was reading an article about how he manages his day. And they were saying that we could all learn by that because he doesn't try and do several things at one time. He concentrates on one thing at a time, gets it done, then he moves to the next thing, concentrates on that one thing at a time, then he moves to the next thing. Yeah. But he has his full attention on that one thing, where a lot of us try and do too much. I'll do this over here and I'll do this over here, and then we're not really giving our all to that one important piece. We're just giving a little bit here and there, which, as we've known, doesn't work so well. But he really, when he's in, he's in. So I think he's probably going to change. Personally, I think he's going to change the whole way we're going to look at social media. And I think he's going to change how social media is looked at and reviewed by everyone else. And I think he's really going to mix things up so that the other social media channels are going to be sitting there going, whoa, wait a minute.
I think there's already, I mean, like I get a newsletter from Parler, right? I joined that. I can't remember how many years ago, but I never do anything on it. But I get a newsletter from them, and already they're like, putting all this stuff out because like they thought they were the free speech anyway, but they're not. I was thinking about something else on this that was mentioned that I really wanted to cover in this, and I wanted to tweak this a little bit. Is the amount of money he's paying for this? Have you seen the social media posts that basically say $44 billion? You know what he could do with $44 billion that would help the world more? And I mean, a friend of mine put this up as a joke on his social media post. And I said, my comment to it was, I always like when people with no money try to tell people with money what they should do with their money.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And
we don't know. He could make a big, huge change. By doing this, he could make a huge change and change the whole sphere of social media. Yeah. We don't know.
But most people will judge him for what he did. All right. Yeah. And most people don't know the real Elon Musk. Elon Musk is putting 44 billion out. All right. And he's probably still sleeping on friends' couches. And I don't think most people know that. He don't go buy a house and go, well, I have to live comfortably. I have to have a certain meal every day. He doesn't have that in his world. All of his money is tied up in his businesses, and he doesn't have a freaking salary.
No. And they say he really lives underneath his means. He doesn't live beyond his means. And that's being smart. It's not. But I know, like you said, a lot of times, not to get off of that, but a lot of times people will talk about, wow, he's got all this money. He's got all this money. Hi, Rob. How are you?
Yeah. So, you won't catch me saying until I have some money. All right. But there was a comment that Elon Musk said something like he went with like a solution to go, hey, let's do this to help world problem, and nobody listened to him, right?
Yeah.
All right, and now 2 years later, but there also was another meme that came out, and it showed like the pictures of like the past 4 presidents, including our current one in the United States, right? And it showed they spent like 3 trillion or 4 trillion of your money, all right. And nobody questions that, but we question someone who spends 44 billion of his own money.
We can question it, but there's not a damn thing we can do about it.
Both cases we can question it, but there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah. It is his money.
Money, yes, I agree.
He built businesses instead of building a comfy house.
And it's interesting. Have you seen how many people have now said, I'm getting off of Twitter. Elon Musk has bought it. I'm out of here. I'm just canceling my account. I'm done. Because they're assuming a lot of people don't want the orange man to come back on. So because of that, and they think that's what Elon Musk is going to do and allow him to come back on with his rhetoric and so on and so forth. So a lot of people are making that assumption. Whether he does or not, that's up to him. But because of that and how much airwaves he had with it, I think a lot of people are thinking or assuming he's going to do the same thing here. And so they're just saying, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this.
And I'm going to tell you this, all right, as someone who's a business person and has been a business person most of my life, when you tell me, well, I'm going to leave if you don't do blah, 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 I'm like, bye.
Yeah.
And this is my whole platform, is telling people, hey, here's how you build a bigger list so you can tell your worst customer, bye, at any point in time. If you're stuck on, well, I can't get rid of that customer because I need the money, build your business bigger.
Yeah.
This is what Elon Musk is going to do. He's going to build his business bigger. And the people who disagree with him, he's like, okay, bye.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And most of us, if we took on that philosophy in life, all right, but instead we want to control what other people do.
That's not freedom. That's not freedom. And that's fascism. It's not freedom. You're going to do what I say, and the only way is what I say, and my way is that's not freedom.
No,
not at all.
It is not. And I did totally disagree with that idea of that comes down to, go ahead. That comes down to cancel culture. Come on, get it out. Come on, get it out.
It went away.
Yeah.
Gone.
For those of you not watching the camera today, it was a hilarious thing.
Done. I'm kind of interested to see what he does, because I really think he's going to mix things up, and I really think he's going to take social media and put it up on side its head and do something totally different that we may be sitting there going, wow, this is very innovative. I like what he's doing. I know there's going to be a lot of people that may not like it, but as we've known, social media is like the wild, wild west still. And like Rob elates here, it is what you make of it. I mean,
well, that's it. If you don't like Orange Man, don't follow him.
Yeah, it is what you make of it. And don't look at his tweets.
Hello. All right.
Delete.
Twitter has this button that you click. It's called follow, unfollow.
Yes, simple. And then you won't see it.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. But it's interesting. But part of this, though, too, in regards to this is how it's going to affect business in regards to social media as well. And how are they going to react to what changes that may be coming down the pike and what he might implement. And that's another thing, because as we know, when social media first started, it was free. You didn't have to pay for it. It was free.
You still don't have to pay for it, but you pay for it in all the advertisement you get now.
Yeah, but it was all about connections. It was connecting with people. It was, finding people. And I actually read statistically, as soon as they put the like button on, it changed everything. Because now everybody had this, well, I got this many likes. Oh, I got this many likes. It became this popularity thing.
Vanity metrics, I think
yes,
it's called.
And the metrics, exactly. And it changed. And I remember when social media first started coming out, and I was talking to companies and saying, listen, it's not going to be free forever because it's a business. They got to make money. And they all were saying, oh my God, did you see? You have to pay this to do this, and you have to pay this to do that. And I was like, I told you.
It's a business.
It's a business. They got to charge. But social media has really changed, especially for business and small business, because it used to be the organic reach was out of the, it was great. You could see with your organic reach. Well, now, especially with Facebook, they've changed the algorithm so many times now, you're not getting that organic reach. The only reach you get is if you pay for that reach, which is not really organic.
Yeah.
So if you want more organic reach, you would go to LinkedIn or one of those other platforms, because right now Facebook, it's all about the money.
No. Can we compare Twitter to other for a couple minutes? Compare Twitter to other entities that are out there for social media. Twitter, all right. When I go on Twitter and I look through it, all right, I don't see a lot of what other people that I don't follow are posting. Yeah. I do see some advertisements here and there, but there's no way to start a fight in the comments underneath a post. So you post something I don't like, I can't start a comment war.
True.
I'd be hateful to comment. All right. I can retweet it with another comment to make my opinion onto it. Type idea. Yeah. I can like it. I can't dislike it. Did you notice that?
Yes. Right? Very true.
YouTube. YouTube has a like and dislike button. Does not matter the algorithms, no matter whether you hit like or dislike. As a matter of fact, they stop showing the dislikes. They only show
Yeah.
you how many people like it. They don't show you how many people dislike it anymore.
Yeah.
Facebook, all right, you can comment onto it, all right, but all right, a lot of your feed is filled up with sponsors, which you can pay to be a sponsor, all right, you can pay to get in front of people, but there is still some organic reach there. But the idea is you are searching through stuff of the friends you have on Facebook, it is going to be littered with, all right, for me, there's this one thing I clicked on 2 weeks ago, and they're still advertising to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's business.
Same thing here.
Yeah. As opposed to the old, and then there's LinkedIn. The thing I always hated about LinkedIn, it is more business centric, but every time I've ever gone on LinkedIn, the only thing I've gotten is because you actually can go on LinkedIn and get people's email addresses. And I do not like that factor. You want to talk about privacy. You can grab everybody who's connected to you on LinkedIn's email addresses and email. And there's a way to email them in your own. You can put it all in your CRM. And I disagree with that. But
plus, there's a business out there, or there's an app out there that you can purchase that you can get in, because you know how you have to be accepted. You have to either know the person or some way. You have to say that you know them in one way or another, and then they have to accept you.
Yeah.
Now there's an app that doesn't have to happen. You can just get a bunch of names and start sending requests across to, I'd like to connect with you. And then you think, okay, I'll connect with them. And then you get this long ass advertisement of, hey, I can help you with blah, 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 blah. They're selling you before they don't even get to know you.
Yeah.
And I know that people that I've talked to that work with LinkedIn said that, yes, that's an app and it's not legal to do on LinkedIn, or it's not what they approve of, but it's still out there and people are still doing it.
Well, in the early days of Twitter, if they followed you on Twitter, you had a way that you could basically email through the message system, and the message system would directly put an email in their email address. So you send it through through Twitter message system,
yeah,
like the Facebook Messenger, and then it would automatically go to their inbox
yeah,
of their email, right? And Twitter took that feature away. If LinkedIn put a feature to where basically you can message them in LinkedIn, but you can't get their email address. For LinkedIn, it's because they can get you their email address. And I had a guy one time from Australia. It's got to go back about 5, maybe 8 years ago this happened. The guy connected me on LinkedIn, sent me a message within a matter of minutes, all right, sent me an email address within a matter of hours, and called me within a day. Like, trying to sell me his product.
Yeah.
And I remember this is where I started to get my attitude of F off. You know, I was like,
and if you think about it, a lot of times, especially with social media, we're still not using it properly as business.
No, we aren't.
And I've told people this over and over again, but they still don't get it. We're not there to sell on social media.
We're not.
That's not what it's about. Think of it this way, and I try and tell people this all the time. If I came up to you and said, hey, Tim, my name's Katrina Garcia, and I do websites, and I would love to help you with your website, da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about your business. I don't even know if you need a freaking website. You need to get to know that person before you're going to start selling them out of the gate.
Yeah.
And that's what social media is about. There's a big key word in that is the biggest thing that people don't realize. Social. It's social.
It's about, you know, and I love, you know, John Limbacher says it all the time in his stuff. And John always says there's nothing that can be done in the online world that hasn't been proven in the offline world.
True. Very true.
And we look at it, all right. You know, look at the online dating. You know, when you and I were kids looking to date, all right, we would go to a bar, and if we were shy, we wouldn't walk up and talk to anybody, right? All of a sudden, these people got, shall we say, balls of steel when they get on social dating sites.
Yep.
And now they're jack cool, or you know.
Well, and they don't have that. That's the thing, and I think that's the biggest drawback on social media is that you don't have that face-to-face.
Yeah.
And we've had this discussion that when they have said 90% of the people that say mean things on social media, if that person was facing them right then and there, they wouldn't say it.
That's it.
But because they have that filter and that person's not right in front of them to negate it or whatever the case may be, they feel that they've got more cojones and they can just say whatever they want. But I think that is the drawback with social media, is that we don't have that filter. There's a lot of people that don't have a filter, and they just start slewing out all kinds of stuff, even stats that aren't even right, as we've seen over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's why I was going back to, when people are looking, and more people are doing this, unfortunately, they're looking at social media and they're getting all of their facts that they think are facts on social media about life in general, news, things that are going on, whatever that may be. That's where they're getting their information. And that's not, and as we know, that's not the place to do it. You have to do your homework nowadays. You can't, it used to be that when you had an article or news feed or whatever that was put out, you could take it to face value because it was truthful. Used to be. Now you don't know. Is it all true? And if you watch a lot of the news feeds, you'll see accident at hotel, 230 people injured. Then the next one says accident hotel, 1,200 people injured. And then the next one, it says accident hotel, major fire, 5,000 people killed. And it's like, why are you've got, and that's why it's hard to try and decipher and say, okay, is this the true facts or is this the true facts?
Well, the way we put facts out there on social, on media, not just social, on media now, is you and I could write an opinion piece, and then someone could quote our opinion piece, and now it's fact.
Yeah.
Hello, that's just because you and I shared an opinion doesn't make it fact.
No.
But with this idea, because we posted it, it is now a factual. No, it is not a factual document. It's still you and I's opinion.
Yeah, it's not facts. It's an opinion. And on top of that, I saw an interesting article too that said that once it's said more than 3 times, people start to believe it.
Yeah.
So we could post something that said a bear ran through New Mexico and did something or other, start the feed, then have someone else pass it on, then someone else pass it on. Before you know it, it's on the news, and it never even happened.
Right. Do you remember the game we played as a kid called Whisper Down the Lane?
Oh, ours was called Rumors.
Yeah. So basically, you started at the front of a line, all right, and whispered something to somebody's ear. And by the time it got all the way down to the other end,
not even close.
It was not even close.
Not even close.
All right?
Yep.
That is what's going on in our world with media. You cannot, in our social media world, get out and teach things like that, or get out and expect the fact that I'm going to say something and it's going to be known as fact by the time it gets to the 4th thing.
Yep.
All right. So that's the dividing point in our freedom of speech. I'm sharing opinion. Yep. When we're on this show, we're taking a news story and sharing my opinion and your opinion, right?
That's it. That's all.
I'm not coming out here to share the facts about Elon Musk. I don't know the facts about Elon Musk.
Nope.
I know his name's Elon Musk.
And he's buying Twitter for $44 billion.
He created Tesla. All right. He created, is it SpaceX?
Yes.
Other than that, everything that I know about him is hearsay.
Yes.
Right? I don't care what you've printed in a news story about him. It's still hearsay.
Exactly. Until you're his best friend and you sit with him day in and day out and know exactly how he thinks and what he does and what his opinions are, we cannot say that's fact.
I can give you one fact today, Katrina. The fact is, tonight I'm actually having dinner with your friend.
That's a fact.
You're not. That's a fact.
Fact check. And I know one fact too is you're going to have to say hi to her for me. I think it's going to be interesting, but like I said, with business owners in regards to social media, we have to start utilizing it properly.
Yeah.
And that means don't sell out the gate, because you got to get to know these people first and give them a chance to get to know you. Because as we know, and we've talked about this before, people aren't going to do business with you unless they know, like, and trust you. And the only way they can
I think basically, I mean, if I were to give homework assignments out, I would say go build a relationship with somebody online this week. Don't try to sell them anything. Just find out about them.
Yep.
And connect to them. See where it gets you.
I agree.
Right?
Totally agree. Totally agree. It's a great concept. So I had this very interesting topic that I found, and I thought, oh my God, this says so much. In Northern Illinois, there was a couple that were they were in the process of restoring their house, and they found a 1950s well-preserved bag of French fries. And when I say well-preserved, what does that say about McDonald's food? That it'll last as long as Twinkies? You know, I mean, I thought that was quite interesting. And I did not know this, but in the 1950s, their mascot was called Speedy.
Yep.
That was before Ronald McDonald came along.
I think Speedy was before Ray Kroc took over too.
Yeah, it was in 1950s.
Yeah. When did Ray Kroc actually take over?
Trying to think. I have to look it up. I'm trying to think. Look it up. But when Ray Kroc took it over, I mean, he is infamous for rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And that's how McDonald's became so good at what they do.
They were looking for a new franchising agent, and Kroc saw the opportunity in 1955. He founded McDonald's Systems Inc., a predecessor to McDonald's Corporation, and 6 years later bought the exclusive rights to McDonald's name and operating system. By 1958, McDonald's had sold its 100 millionth hamburger. So
yeah, he took them a long, long way. They were just a little mom and pop, and they had a few stores here and there, and now they're everywhere. I mean, internationally, everywhere.
So that all right, relating to our freedom of speech talk and talking about stories. I don't know if you watched the movie a couple years ago with Michael Keaton playing Ray Kroc called The Founder.
No, I have not.
I love watching it because of the fact that, I mean, first of all, when a movie comes out, they're going to put the movie to a slant to make the narrative a sellable idea to make people want to watch it.
Yeah.
Whether it is true or not, all right? They're going to, and the movie was put out with the intent to slant and make Ray Kroc look like a bad guy. It was, all right. In my opinion, when they make movies like that, that's where we get the idea that we can come up with false narratives on social media.
I agree.
We see it done in the media. Go back years before that, as 10 years ago or 12 years ago, when they did the social media story with the Zuckerberg and the twins. That
was a good story.
That was a good story. However, there was a lot of facts into that weren't true in that movie. But people see the movie, which is a dramatic interpretation to make it entertaining, all right? And they take it as fact. Yes. And that is where we get into the problem with our freedom of speech in the world today, is we think we make a dramatization of it, and it gets now labeled as fact. I go back even further, all right, because I know the story and I've met both of these people, is the Rudy Rudiger story. And the whole dramatization in the movie was changed from what really happened. Now, I met Rudy Rudiger in person, and the way it came out was someone asked Joe Montana, all right, about it. Joe Montana was like, a kid. And if you've seen Rudy Rudiger had that movie being made to help his speaking career.
Got it.
After the movie came out, he was speaking on a stage and told the story of a punky young kid that he inspired when he was going through, because basically Rudy said, I had no football talent and I got on that team. Right. And that no football talent inspired a man with football talent to go, you know what? If that guy can do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to build a dream. And that man was Joe Montana.
Yeah.
Right. And Joe Montana said, yes, he was inspired by it. But then people started to say, well, Joe, did that really happen? Was in the movie? And he goes, no, that was a dramatic appearance for that film.
Yes.
That's not the way the story happened, but that's how movies are made. They're not going to tell the story verbatim because sometimes the story verbatim doesn't sell a movie.
No, it's got to be sensationalized
Yes.
so that people are going to watch it and people are going to pay to watch it. So there's some truth to it, but we have to take it as a grain of salt.
And almost all of them say based on a true story. They don't say this is a true story. They always say based on a true story.
Yes, I agree.
That's where we have to learn when we go to our own social media, our own world of trying to tell the story, right? Because if we don't learn to be honest with ourselves and putting out our social media, people are going to find our French fries in a basement years later and wonder how good our story really was.
Exactly.
I related the two. Did you like how I circled back to that?
That was very good. And that's part of it too, is how transparent are we on social media as businesses? I mean, we as business owners, we want to hear all the good reviews, and that's natural. We want to get those accolades and say, yes, I'm good, and they said I'm good. But there are also some of those that aren't always good, but that's how we learn. Is that if something didn't go right, I mean, I've had clients where it was a total, not going to say it, total, you know what, and I was upset at the time and the client was upset at the time, but when I sat back and looked at it, I realized this was a good lesson. I should have done this, I should have done this, and I should have done this. So in the future, as I went forward, that's what I put in place. And that's what these things teach us as business owners and even as human beings, that it's not all about being, roses and, oh, you're so good, pat on the back. I never met a deer. I love French fry, but you know what? They've changed the recipe now. They don't do the beef in the, they were doing beef oil or something of that nature to make them really taste, and they took that out because people were.
Whatever, they still taste good. They're still the best tasting French fries on the market.
The Colonel and Kentucky Fried Chicken, when his company was first taken over, and he allowed it to be taken over, they were a true story. And I heard this from the person who was there. And they were having a meeting behind his back. And he walks in, he says, why is there a meeting without me here? And they said, oh, well, we're just discussing. He said, well, all right, I'm here, let's discuss. And they're talking about changing the gravy, the recipe. He gets up and he says, don't fuck with the gravy.
Right.
Good for a reason, don't fuck with the gravy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, we've had an interesting discussion today with a lot of different things, all right, around freedom of speech and business. And, I see the world out there right now. We built it. We've built a vanity metric type idea with social media. All right. Think about all your kids on Instagram trying to build. And I've seen these people out there trying to do their Instagram content for the day. Yeah. And you see a photographer and a cell phone doing 50 million poses. All right. And then, you know what I mean? To create content. They're not living. Their whole world is creating content. All right. To build that.
Yes.
And they're not really living. That's what we get caught up into I want to be that, not realizing that these people gave their whole freaking life. All right. While you're out enjoying that nice steak dinner, they only went to the steak dinner to get pictures of it. They don't have time to sit and enjoy it because they've got to move on and get pictures of something else. Mm-hmm. We don't live our lives anymore. That's how truthfulness on social media is got to be changed, because there's not really truthful on social media. We have vanity type ideas and a vanity idea of what we need to present on social media.
I agree. Totally agree. We need to be more transparent. In fact, it was interesting. I'm going to be going back to them because people were saying they liked them so much. I do a tip every day on Thursday after a podcast, but I also was doing Transparency Tuesdays, where no makeup, just something that happened that, and this is how I got through it, a trial and tribulation of business or personal or whatever. And I got more feeds on that, more comments, more views than anything else. And so that really means that people want to see the real you. that they don't want to see the made up you. They don't want to see the filters and how beautiful you are right now. They want to see who are you truly.
So our show has no filters. None.
None whatsoever.
Here. See, we turn the lights off and we're in the dark. This is our real life. We're in the dark.
No filters. Yes. And trust me, I do feel I'm being transparent here. I do filters on my Thursday tip. But on my Transparency Tuesdays, there's going to be no filters, no makeup. It is just me.
Wow.
So, and that's what people want. And that's what, you got to give your audience what they want.
Yeah.
That's part of it. And that's part of being transparent. And we have one resource that I want to share, which is awesome resource. It's Trello, Trello.
What do they do, first of all? I don't know.
Well, a lot of times people have a lot of projects that are going on, or they have clients that they're doing projects with, and so on and so forth. And this is a project-based app where you can have all your projects going across. It's kind of like having a dashboard with Post-its. So Post-it for one board is for this project, and then everything attaining to that project that's being done below it. And the nice thing about it is that it integrates with practically any app out there. So it can integrate with calendar pieces. It can integrate with calendar pieces, all kinds of other pieces that you can pull in, Slack, all of those, so that if you add a team, they can note everything within that, so you can see that project and how it's moving, what's stopping it from moving forward. You can contact them and let them know at that time. It goes directly into their email so they can see it. It can even go directly to their text messaging so they can see it. Clients can go in and see what the project is and what's the process of the project as well. You can make it to where if you just have a certain thing that you want to talk about between two people, you can make it private so only you two can look at that. I mean, it's a really great way of managing projects, especially if you have a bunch of them and you're utilizing those across the board. And it's a great way to organize your business, yourself. And for free, you get quite a bit for free, but just keep in mind that there's a paid piece and it's still very inexpensive. I think it's like $19.99 a month for the next one up. And that's when you get all of the other apps that can be integrated with it. Because the free one, you can't get those apps. And so you have to do the paid one to do that. But I think it's worth it for the cost, and it's a great way to organize everything. And like I said, think of it as like these sticky notes on a dashboard. You've got this sticky note. You're going to write a book in 30 days, like Craig says. So you can do that. It's a great example. You can do that in Trello. You can put all of the chapters across the board, what you're going to write. Then you can write below those each piece that you're going to start writing within it. You start, with your book and so forth, so that by the time you're done, you have your book done, all in Trello. That's a great example of how it can help you as well. It's a great concept. It's not very expensive, and it's one of the best ones out there. There's also Asana, but personally, I like Trello the way it's laid out. I think and you can do backdrops if you want, and make it look all fancy and schmancy, and you can even do your logos. You can even do branding on it so that when you've got clients looking at it, it has all of your branding there, so it looks really snazzy. So it's a great way to communicate and get your projects balanced out so you can see, okay, I'm on track, or, oh, wait, I'm not. I need to get this done or that done. And like I said, it ties into a lot of these other apps, your calendar app, your email app, your text messaging app, so that you can do all these things with it.
There's just so many pieces to make this work anymore.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it's a great way to organize things, and it's another way to organize your business so that you can stay on track. And like I said, Trello is one of my favorites, and there's Asana out there too. Some people say they prefer Asana, but I really prefer.
I don't know either one of them. I've only heard people talk about them.
Yeah, I really prefer Trello. It has a lot more app integration than Asana does, personally. That's my personal opinion.
Mhm.
I think it has more options in it than Asana. Just depends on how you look at it, but even the freebie can help you organize things. But like I said, if you do the paid version, which is the cheapest one is $19.99, I think it is a month, it gives you options for all kinds of apps, all kinds of apps. And on top of it too, they also have templates to set up so that, say like you're working with a team that's abroad. A lot of times people will hire people from Taiwan or India. And this is a way for everybody to connect from abroad. So it's a great way to see everything that's going on, especially if you've got a virtual team that's not in the States.
Okay, cool. So
great resource.
With that being said, all right, tell everybody about your business here as we close out for the week, so they know who you are and what you do.
I'm Katrina Garcia, and my business is KG Website Designs, where we help you build a website that gets you leads, helps you grow your business, and makes you money while you sleep.
Oh, that would be cool if a website actually did that, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
I like it because everything I do is about making money while I sleep.
So we can sleep. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah. So guys, my name is Tim Gillette. Simple Easy Marketing is my business. I help people with the Simple Easy Events is a virtual marketing training platform. Go to simpleeasyevents.com, all right, and get thousands upon thousands of all of our stuff. We have events and we only have one time. You join one time, you get to access all of our events for life.
Very true.
Very true.
And I've spoken on this stage a couple times.
Yep.
Well worth it. Well worth it.
Cool. So in the meantime, guys, all right, it's been our pleasure coming to you this week. Me from Dallas, Texas, Katrina from that other country,
Mexico. New Mexico, USA. Yes, it is part of the United States. It is not in Mexico, people. New Mexico, USA.
Hey, I mean, but you got to give her credit, all right? We got her out of California at least.
Finally. Finally.
I no longer have partnerships in California.
Finally. Oh my gosh. Finally. Until next time. Thanks for watching again, Rob. We appreciate your continued support.
Yep. We thank you guys all for watching and liking our stuff and sharing it. Please share our podcast out so that we can help grow our audience. All right. You know, we don't put hundreds of thousands of dollars behind to advertise this. We're just trying to build a show around what we like to talk about and what you like to hear about. So.
Yep, exactly. Let us know.
Let us know. So.
Until then, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Yep. We will see you guys next week in the month of May. This is the last one our last broadcast in April.
Next month, we're already going into the month of May. Holy
wait. Do you know what next Thursday's date is?
Next Thursday's date is? I do not.
We broadcast on a specific date.
Next Thursday's date is May 5th.
So it goes back to an ancient story where basically they were carrying a ship of mayonnaise over to Mexico. It was ordered, all right, and the ship sank in the Gulf of Mexico, and it sank on the 5th of May, and they call it Cinco de Mayo.
Ah, that's right.
Cinco de Mayo, man. That's
Mayo, man. Just go drinking and everything. Cinco de Mayo. Let's go celebrate. I'll bring my drink if you bring your drink.
So that being my other podcast I do called Like the Way You Drink with Gladys Boutwell.
That woman.
We're doing all Mexican type stuff with tacos. Like all of our drinks are like Mexican type drinks and beers with tacos all month long in the month of May.
Oh, I got a good one. It's a strawberry margarita with chili ring on the top. Chili.
Yeah, I thought about trying that once. Me and peppers are not doing that well.
Oh, got it. It's yummy though. Yummy.
It is so yummy.
Cinco de Mayo next time, peeps. That's what we're gonna be.
We will see you guys next week, guys. Have a great week.